Peace, more. Let's arise. Face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
Justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
My salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through His holy prophet.
Through His holy prophet.
Noble Jawad. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your cards are for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. Peace more. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button. Peace more. All right. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button. Cease wearing their turban and fez and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Juali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Juali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Juali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Juali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see. Ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. Islam. We have a link up here. This is Brother Imhotep, Brother Imhotep L. Near Alabama. Some Moors doing some time out there. Started up a political prisoners website in order to get the word out on stuff going on in the prisons, to get word out on Peace Wars. I made it. Everything's good. You sounding tired, yo. You guys drove. What's up, bro? Everything good?
Elijah's the 6th now.
6 now?
Yeah,
You're not 6. You're 5, bro.
He's able to listen. No, he's 6.
You're not 6. No way.
He is 6.
You guys ran or something?
He's 6 years old.
Peace is love. You guys want to do the prayer?
Yeah. Okay.
Might as well since you're here. Let's do the prayer again for you, Mars.
I love the one you should do that she wanted to do.
What? What?
I kind of figured out a new
Oh,
I remember it.
yeah? I have to hear it first, though.
Yeah.
You want to do it now?
Yep.
All right, let's do it now. We're still going to do everything else? Everything else is the same?
Yep.
All right, let's go. You can put on your book. Let's go. Let's hear this new prayer you got. Let's hear this new prayer you got. You remember? All right.
She wanted
You ready?
on the list.
Call everybody's order. Let's go, bro.
Me? Yeah, that's what's Elijah. But I want the last two on the bed. Everyone stand up and face Jesus.
After my father.
All right, let's go. Let's hear it.
We all respect the law. We all respect the law. And we follow the 5 principles.
Follow the 5 principles.
Which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
And justice.
We love you, Allah.
Love you, Allah.
And we respect you all.
And we respect you always.
Islam.
Islam. All right. All right. All right. Good one. You got your bundles on top of the printer. That was good, Luke. Thank you. That was good. Yeah, so the site we have on the screen right now, sites.zenbusiness.com/American Political Prisoners Cry for Help.
Is that on the
No, the Moors just called me yesterday. They called me from their cell.
Sorry.
They're coming from their cell, and they're basically putting out this site just to get the word out on stuff going on in the prisons and stuff like that. If people want to donate, I think you could donate through it. They want to be uploading different articles and stuff from different Moors locked up and stuff like that. So that's something in the works. You're actually supposed to call me today.
Is it signed up yet?
Yeah, the site's up and everything.
What is it again?
Sites.zenbusiness.com/American political prisoners cry for help
Wow.
why.
Okay, wait a second.
Where you stop at?
Yeah.
Where you stop at?
Help.
Help. Okay, after help, dash again.
Yeah.
And then Y, number 4, GHQ /. They're in there, so their site building stuff is next level. Yeah.
That's from inside the prison, you said?
Yeah. Nice. They have like some what do you call it? They have the classes and whatever in there. So their IT class or whatever, where they built a website, and they're about to put out some info and all that. Yeah, you know, and like I say, they got their cell in there. They got temple meetings going on. They got holy day class going on. They got Quran class going on. Yo, inside. Yeah. So it's like they're sort of doing like a prison reform. You know, whoever comes in, they get to whatever, so they don't come back there. Cause I think it's like lifers doing it. That have the program. Yeah. It was just them. Start talk with the chaplain. You know, this is what we want to do. Chaplain's like, all right, I guess. You know what I mean? And they get DVDs in there. They get music in there. Yeah. It's not a normal arrangement. Yeah, it's like a special arrangement type of thing. Yeah. And so, you want to talk about your thing yesterday was it yesterday? With the where you told me about with the fez and the tarbush.
Oh yeah, so he's says he claims to be from Palestine as a nationality. What's your nationality? He's a Palestinian. I'm like, okay, well I wasn't gonna get to the politics of Palestine. But so he goes, where are you from? I go, Morocco, not the Morocco that you think. We're in Morocco right now. So he goes, so the long story short, because it gets long. So we're going for a while.
As usual.
Yeah, as usual. So he goes, he actually called me today, actually, on my way here.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Okay.
He's just curious. He's like, send me some info. He's like I'm very good. I study the history of religion and stuff. He's like, I don't just do what I do, you know, like, because he's a contractor, right? It's like, I don't just do contracting. I study history and religion, you know, like, this is stuff that we do all the time, you know. So he goes, this is very interesting. Like, this is very interesting to know someone on the inside. And I'm still trying to like, think what he means by that. I'm still trying to think what he means by that. It's good to know someone on the inside.
Well, it's possible it could mean that it's appealing to him to know that somebody other than him knows actually maybe the whole history.
He knows the info.
Yeah, you know, that's it. I can't see that being a bad thing.
Yeah.
It goes to show, like, as he's bothering me for information. He goes, send me some information on Morocco and how you know the years Morocco and whatnot. He's like, I'm very interested to know who you guys are as worship.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm very intrigued. And he's, as I said, even until now, when I was coming here, he called me and goes, brother, don't forget to send me that information. So our people are just lagging while the other nations are trying to.
Yeah, everybody's ahead.
Yeah.
Always been.
So we got this letter with regard to Rami, Salaam, and this Supreme Grand Council and whatever else. So we want to deal with that as well as correlate that with the Moorish literature, as well as bringing the people back into the constitutional fold of government by Ras Mariah Bey. So before we'll do this first. Dated March 3rd, 2021. Peace. I hope this letter finds you all in good health and a great mood. I am Rami Abdullah Salam El, a Moorish American and humble servant of Allah. Before going any further, I'm going to share a few words from Noble Drew Ali to help guide this letter and our actions moving forward. For all governors, grand chiefs, and head officials of all temples, renew your acts and amend your ways, because the great conference is on the way. And in it is where the law will be enforced before the grand body. The continuance of the present officers in the temple will depend on your past good work. Those who have been delinquent may now know that they will not be tolerated any longer. because this divine national movement must move on according to law. These things shall be proclaimed. There is no favorite in any of the temples, for the law is laid down, and everyone who claims a part of the work must be governed accordingly. All are one. There is but one temple in this nation, and there is but one prophet of the temples. A warning from the prophet Noble Juali. I am grateful to any and everyone that has taken part in the great missionary work of uplifting fallen humanity. Whether we know each other or not, I want you to know that your efforts are appreciated, no matter how big or small. Thank you. That being said, let us now address the serious issue within our movement. Respectfully and with love, it is clear that we all are in violation. Our leadership, grand sheiks, officers, etc. of the Moorish Science Temple of America have not been following the laws and taking care of the duties and responsibilities that they were tasked with. Furthermore, regular members of the Moorish Science Temple of America have not been representing justice by holding our sisters and brothers in those positions accountable and making sure they are fulfilling their duties. So as it stands, again, I say we are all in violation. I recognize that this is a very serious claim to make, so please allow me to build on this with facts and evidence. There are different aspects of our movement that we can look to and see errors and violations being made. But the part I would like to focus on in this letter is the Supreme Grand Council. Why? Because I believe it is the root cause for the many other issues we are having within our movement. The Supreme Grand Council is an integral, governing, and administrative component of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Supreme Grand Council was created by Noble Juali and assisted the following duties and responsibilities: to control and supervise all the affairs of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to control and supervise all the properties of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to be the sole judge of what constitutes conduct injurious to order, peace and interest and welfare of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to be the sole judge of what constitutes conduct at variance with the Constitution and bylaws, rules and regulations made of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to be the sole judge of any sufficiency of the evidence by which such conduct is shown. So we'll stop there and we'll just go to
Rami said, you know that?
yeah. And we'll just go to
So he's calling on all of their chiefs.
yeah, all members and everybody else.
He didn't say like specifically, the specific grand chiefs that are acting.
Yeah. Which is where it should go. To the specific individuals who were held to the charge, not just a blanket thing, right? Because when we go back to the origin, when we go back to the foundation, we see that after Noble Juali left, there is when the confusion started, right? And leading up to him getting assassinated, there was already things in the air showing that these elements were in the temple, and they were taking the position of try to get him out so they can control his stuff, right? Page 50. Clearly, a true Moorish American would have to have some de jure knowledge of constitutional law, as it is through this lack that they have been molested. This is what is meant by going back to the mindset of your forefathers. The Europeans were taught law by our ancestors. The Constitution was written as a contract for them, but vested in it is the protections of our birthrights. If we would activate it by way of enforcing the Constitution, we would then activate the spirit of our ancestors and they will in turn guide and protect us. The work they did in authorizing this Constitution was masterful and eloquent. You must honor them. The laws are written in Moorish Latin and the court still utilize them. Check a lawful document and you will see for yourself. This proves the European did not write the laws. The Europeans have written statutes and ordinances, but they are not the law. Read Article 6 of the Constitution, wherein it states, all debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. The Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So this was one of the first open violations when it comes to how come Moors don't have certain things today. Because when we go back to that time, everything was in place. Moors there was schools, there was temples in all the different states, there was subordinate temples in all the different states, there was grand chiefs, grand governors, secretaries, all the positions were filled up. The Moorish movement had, millions in finance during that time. It was based on all these members paying their dues, based on all these different companies that were set up, based on Moors themselves even having so much activity going on amongst themselves, to the point where when you go check the newspaper, you would see, in the old Moorish Guide newspapers, you would see all the ads for all the different businesses that were going on during that time, that Moors had, not anything to do with Drew Ali said or whatever like that. This is just Moors businesses, right? So when the Constitution stopped being enforced by the people who are the heirs to the estate, then everything's gonna fall after that. Because if the people whose duty is to enforce the Constitution aren't doing it, then why should anybody else do it? If the people who are supposed to be standing up for rights and law and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice aren't standing up for it, then how is it gonna stand if the people whose obligation it is to stand up for it aren't standing up?
What do you mean by Constitution? You're talking about bylaw and Constitution.
Yeah, no, the Constitution for the United States of America Republic, because that was what was supposed to allow the European powers to be able to do whatever they're doing, but then not encroach on everybody else, right? And the only reason they started taking that position of, do whatever they feel they could do or do whatever they want, because nobody was holding them to the law. Everybody was holding them to things that came after that, right? And then again, going back to Noble Drew Ali telling the Moors in their constitution that, the names come from slave masters and, we need to disconnect from using these names. And then everybody was using the name.
It makes me wonder, Jack, where all these Moors, because I'm looking at the picture over here. That picture over there. Right?
Yeah.
And all those members and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking, where are all these Moors at the time? Because they're supposed to be enforcing that constitution that moved through. So, in 2008, he prophesied, like he said, there's going to be a temple over here, right? 2008, he came out with this, 2008, right? So, what was it before that? Why were people still saying you were black color?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it should have been picking up at a pace where it was all right, it should be at a point where everybody now, it's the year 2000.
Yeah.
Right?
From where it was to where it is now, obviously there's been a decline. But that's from the people who were in it. That was directly from the people who were in it. because and some of the things that we bring up, for example, is, they're asking about, where's Supreme Grand Council? We don't need to know where that is. It's right there. They got a website and all that stuff, Supreme Grand Council. It's not like they can't be found or whatever. The issue is the individuals that came into this. And then they came into this with the religious stuff that they brought in. They came in with the Masonic stuff that they brought in. And then the confusion came about. On top of that, now you have people that were claiming themselves to be Noble Juali to individuals who obviously weren't studying or whatever like that, to know that somebody is not going to incarnate into an adult. That's not happening. So how is it yesterday this guy was whatever Bay, and then today he's Noble Juali, and then everybody's chasing him as the prophet returned? And then it wasn't just him. There's 5 other people saying that they're the return of Noble Juali, and everybody's following a different guy saying they're Noble Juali, and nobody came to their senses and say, hold on a second, how are these guys saying they're Noble Juali or whatever? He died yesterday, right? So when we were brought into this info, it was presented to us that those people are fraud. That's why we're giving you a charter, the Moors who brought us in. Because if you go to them, you're not getting a charter. Unless you do the jump through the flaming hoop and all that stuff, there ain't no charter for you. It's not happening. You could go ask, beg, go there, sit there for how much ever years. They're going to keep sweeping stuff under the rug. Because the leadership, and that was 2008. So we're looking at since Juali transition to 2008, right?
2008.
Yeah, right. There's been leadership in the movement that hasn't been doing what they're supposed to do, right? And we know that they haven't been doing what they're supposed to do because the majority of them are paid agents to do that. Whether they're paid by IRS for some taxes, whatever, because they got 501c3, whether they're paid by some Masonic, whatever, whether they're paid by U.S, FBI, CIA, whoever else, in order to keep this like Noble Juali said, the increase of the Moorish hordes in America at a standstill. There were people inserted in order for this to be where it's at right now, where there's no grand treasury. If there is a grand treasury, it's with some Moors over there who are claiming that it's grand, but then they're not including everybody in it, right? They're claiming Grand Major Temple, but their temple is the Grand Major Temple, and then they don't mess with all these other Moors over here because they're not part of their thing, or whatever the case is, right? So when the thing comes up about just pull that door right there. I think they can't push the door open. No, the door to go to the basement. I think so. Yeah, just pull it. I think they locked themselves in. Door too heavy for you, bro? Yeah. So when we bring up Supreme Grand Council in 2021, you're talking about the people who had a hand in having this thing where it's at right now. And they're not changing their tune. They're not switching from what they've been doing. Like I said, they're either paid agents doing what they're doing, or they have no intentions of this being what it's supposed to be. Because if they did, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. It wouldn't be like this, right? And again, the whole idea of the religious and the Masonic element that came into the temple. and created the division even on that level, that you have religious Moors, and then they're singing hymns to Noble Jew Ali and all that. And then you have, Masonic Moors, where everything is secret and you can't do, unless you go through the attic chamber, you can't, whatever, and all that. When Drew Ali himself said, I took away all the secrets. So if Drew Ali said he took away all the secrets, then how are people keeping secrets still? Right? If he himself, and he's the prophet, and he said, I took away all the secrets, then why are there secrets still? Unless these people have intentions or they have some other stuff that they're working on. Any questions? So, Noble Drew Ali wrote a letter to the Moors in 1928, talking about temple tax being necessary. And again, this was approved at the convention, that there's a temple tax that's needed. Because of the fact that, the stuff is under the bag, that's just the ice. Because of the fact that the expense of the operation of the temple is increasing so fast that it was found necessary to vote a tax to the prophet to carry out the work. This idea was concurred with the Supreme Grand Council. This act is so arranged that it will be a burden, that it will not be a burden to any of the temples, but the prophet is very emphatic that it shall not be ignored. The expense of operation has heretofore been taken care of with funds received from the manufacturing department, and it was found that it was a burden on that department. Hence, the tax was necessary. The tax is 25 cents per month per capita. This will mean that the numerical strength of the temple will bear the proper share of the responsibility of the operation. This per capita tax is intended to supply all members alike, governors and grand chiefs included. The governor or officer in charge of each temple will cause a report to be rendered to the Supreme Grand Business Manager of the Supreme Grand Council. 3140 Indiana Avenue, Chicago will specify and itemize the following: number of adepts, number of members, number of new members taken in each month, or those who join after the rendition of the last report. 25 cents must accompany the name of each. Such members as the representation tax. The per capita tax collection begins November 1st, 1928. All concerned will save themselves penalized if they render their report promptly and specifically, because otherwise it will necessitate a representative calling on such delinquent temples and auditing their books, which expense will be borne by the temple. All governors and other officers will be held responsible for the representation tax and report by order of the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. So the expense operation of the temple was being held by the manufacturing company, because the manufacturing company was bringing in that much finance, that the finance that was coming through that was making everything else run, right? That became too much of a burden on the manufacturing company. So every individual had to pay their 25 cents, right, on top of their dues and whatever else, so that this thing could run, right? Now, think about what's already in the temple as far as finance or whatever, from all these people paying their dues. And then now they're saying per capita tax for everybody, and that finance is now coming into. So when the leadership at that time, which is Supreme Grand Council people included, right, all of them realizing that this thing is real. This is not something that we can not deal with. Like, we are seeing crazy amounts of finance coming through these doors. You know, people got in their feelings, even though Juali wasn't doing anything he did for himself. Everything that he did, it was so that the nation could have something. Everything that was implemented, everything that was put in place was so that the Moors could have something. And then Moors themselves, seeing that, undermined it. Right? Now, page 50. To all governors, grand sheikhs, and head officials of the temple. During this convention period of the Prophet Noble Juali, on the 17th of October, that he was going to appoint 7 men tried and true and accepted by you. And on the very next day, Noble Juali stepped forward from the chamber room and declared that he now had his number, and said that the Grand Body had accepted his choice in the setting up of the Supreme Grand Council of the Moor Science Temple of America. And Prophet Noble Juali also declared what their duties in conjunction with that of the Grand Body, which consists of all executive rulers, chief rulers, governors. Prophet Noble Juali said that both are to work hand in hand with each other, and those who act in a Supreme Council duties were to continue on with each other, and those who act in a Supreme Council duties were to continue on with the day-to-day functions of this divine Moorish movement, while the Grand Body was to intercede that the Prophet Noble Juali was the law and the head of this divine movement. So regardless of what Supreme Grand Council, Grand Body, anything that's established or set up, Noble Juali is the man. Nobody else is the man but him. Which is why when all these people came in and got him out the way, they started saying that they're Noble Juali, because they knew that the people's mindset was at a place where all they have to do is say that they're him. That's all they have to do. Say we're Noble Juali, and then these people are going to do anything that these people say. Right? Now the Prophet Noble Juali announces that the following Adab Chamber members would be seated in the Supreme Grand Council. Prophet Noble Juali, Supreme Head and Supreme Chairman. Brother Edward Mealy L., Supreme Grand Sheikh and Grand Governor. Brother James Lomax Bey, Supreme Grand Governor and Grand Governor. Brother Richard Ross Bey. Brother C. Green Bey. Brother Blackwell Bey, and Sister Pearl Ali. Then Prophet Noble Juali said, "Follow me and you will be happy." The Prophet also announced that a per capita tax had been voted in by the Grand Body and concurred with by the Supreme Grand Council during the second sitting of the Supreme Grand Council. We know for a fact that Brother Lomax Bey sold out because he changed his name to some Muhammad whatever and started doing some Muslim stuff after Noble Juali transition, right? Claude Green, we already know he got assassinated, and then they tried to pin his murder on Noble Juali to get Noble Juali out of the movement, right? Pearl Ali, we know that after Noble Juali transition, and she had all the stuff, it was her, Mealy Ill, trying to keep everything together with all these other traders now lingering around, right? If the Supreme Grand Council that Noble Juali set up is based in individuals whose duty it was to come in here and destabilize this and to make this be something that it's not, what is us chasing after them now going to do in 2021? Because they've been doing corrupt stuff with this for so long that they're not changing their tune. They're not going to be looking at doing something different than what they've been doing. If they were, they would have did it already. All of them would have repented for their sins or whatever like that, and they would have made this stuff right. They, no, go ahead, man.
The travel doc, the MPT, the travel doc.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, there's a perfect example.
Exact same thing.
Right? It makes you think, like, who, like, are people using these things? Like, travel documents?
What you mean, like papers that send there?
So there's this document. We couldn't really talk about it, but it has it's a passport, it's a travel document called the tassel hanging off the edge. But it makes me wonder, it's like the same thing you were saying.
Yeah. Right. There's so many different facets after Noble Drew Ali that the splintering of this, right? The splintering of this is a splinter of the 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 splinter. Now we're in 2021, and then there's 50,000 different splinters of what this is, right? When really it was set up to be a certain way, right? And again, you know, Grand Major Temple and Supreme Grand Council and all that stuff were supposed to be part of this, right? And they were part of this piece more, right? The issue that we have is who were the people who were part of this were also part of having Noble Drew Ali assassinated. And then they taught people, and then they taught people, and they taught people, and now we're sitting here today with people calling themselves Supreme Grand Council, and then we're looking at them and asking them, well, how come whatever, and where's the this and where's the that? It doesn't matter where it is. You shouldn't be questioning them people. Those are people who helped kill Noble Drew Ali. Because if they were really about this for real, they wouldn't have been calling themselves Noble Drew Ali reincarnated and all that. They wouldn't have buried the Grand Treasury. They wouldn't have made Moors themselves who had businesses and stuff like that. They wouldn't have made them feel like they're exiled. Where's all those businesses at that all these different Moors had from back then? You know what I mean? They really couldn't do what they were doing without the temple and all that. They were doing that. They had their own businesses and all this. So what is it that they did? What did they put in the minds of the people to have the people either disconnect from this? Because there's people right now, 2021, there's people right now that they're Ellen Bay. They don't know why they're Ellen Bay. They're Negro Black Colored. How you got Ellen Bay on your name? You don't know what that is. There's people right now, right?
Yeah, there's a guy in the baseball basketball league.
Yeah.
A young guy.
Yeah.
I don't even think he knows that.
Right. If you don't know, because you know if you got the interview or whatever like that, you would think his fez is up when after you score your 25 points or whatever like that, you're the man. Something, yeah, something, right? So we're looking at there's two factions. There's factions, right? There's Noble Drew Ali, and then there's everybody who was against him. And everybody who was against him is who's around today, claiming authority in this, claiming a superior position in this. That there's people in Grand Major Temple right now who are supposed to be the authority of the Supreme Grand Council that we know right now they're selling charters to people. We know right now you can pay $250 and you can get into the attic chamber of the Moorish Science Temple right now. Which lets you know the corrupt activity that they have brought into this, right? When probably maybe like 2011, 2012, had a conversation with Bailey L, who was the Supreme Grand Sheikh of that time, right? Yeah, we see what you're doing out there, more. Keep doing the great work and all that stuff. They know, get me to join them, get me to be part of that, get me to whatever with the Grand Major Temple. It was, you're doing what has to be done in the territory where you're at. If you need any support, call. We had to be part of Grand Major Temple to be doing what we're doing. They already know we have charter and all that stuff. All these people already know who autographed our charter. Anybody in Moorish movement, they know. They know that Kenny Umar Bey, Dawood Ali El is who autographed our charter, because those are Arab Chamber members. Those are our national grand sheiks, divine ministers, grand governors. It's not nobody's in the Moorish movement. These are people who, everybody who's in Moorish Science Temple, in the upper echelon, people who've been in this or whatever, they already know who these people are, right? They already know that certain individuals that come into this information are coming in with eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. And they're going to carry out the law regardless of what anybody says, regardless of how they feel about individuals and they feel about personalities or whatever. The job is going to get done. And then when the job's done, you can't say that the job wasn't done, regardless of how you feel about it. So when Supreme Grand Sheikh is telling me about, well, we can't afford to bring you to the convention, because my thing was, well, if you want me at the convention, bring me there, because you guys never gave me a charter. So I don't have any obligation to you people. But if you want to see me at the convention we have in Chicago every year, then send a ticket and I'll come to the convention. That's the only way I'm going, because I don't have obligations to them. The obligations we have is to the Moors who gave us this information, because these people obviously did nothing, because there was no Moorish anything here. And if they were supposed to be the heads of the temples and they're supposed to take this to the hedges and the highways and all that, how come there's not a temple in every state? They had 100 years and they had millions in finance. How come there was no temple in every single state? In every single city, there's more Science Temple there, and it's functioning, because individuals who came in had ulterior motives. Like when we were talking about, for example, with Philadelphia, right? That, setting around those Moors are near Philadelphia. They can't even file papers in Philadelphia, because Moorish Science Temple of Philadelphia filed papers saying that anybody who's filing papers in Philadelphia, they have to come through our temple. And if they don't come through our temple, don't even file their papers. And because they're Moorish Science Temple of America, and Moorish Science Temple of America has that much clout in Philadelphia, the city backed that position that they took. Why? Because the city knows that those people are in their pocket. Those people are the ones who, all they got to do is make the call to them, and they're going to come out You know what I mean? Come to City Hall and make it look like the Moors are doing something in the city of Philadelphia or whatever. They're not doing jack. What are they doing? They got active Moors out there going to do a street cleanup, and the Grand Sheik's coming by in his Chrysler 3000 or whatever like that, talking about what are you guys doing? Oh, all right. And then driving off, you're a Grand Sheik. You didn't jump out and come help sweep some stuff. You didn't make some calls on the phone. Yo, there's some Moors right now doing some cleanup. Every member needs to get down here right now. So we could help get some stuff done, because we've been lax in our duty as Moor Science Temple of America, Philadelphia. Nah, but as soon as the city call, they're running. As soon as the whoever in UDOT's corpse call, they're running. But let a Moor who's active call them. They're not even answering the phone. Right? So we have a template based on the individuals who came into this, right? And from the individuals who taught us, trust no one, because everybody's sold out. Only people you trust is the people who we put you onto. Anybody else, know that they're more than likely a traitor. And as soon as you start talking about these aforementioned people, you start talking about Grand Sheik Nature El Bey, you start talking about Taj Tribute Bey, you start talking about Alim Bey, you start talking about RV Bay Publications, and everybody, all of a sudden, nobody knows who the Moors are, and they don't want nothing to do with them. And well, what about this guy and that guy? What do you mean, what about them? They have done nothing for 80 years. There's people that's in the seat right now. They've been in the seat 40, 50 years in the Moorish movement. In the seat. And nobody can vote them out. And then the membership's capacity isn't even there to vote them out. Which is why you have whoever's name it is on Supreme Grand Council today that is doing nothing for the Moorish movement, when they have the power to do certain things. And like we said, if they haven't been doing anything for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, they haven't done anything, you think they're doing something in the 100th year? You think they have any intentions of attempting to do anything in this time? And again, with this idea of Grand Major Temple, Supreme Grand Council, Grand Treasury, Grand this, Grand that, all those things have run its course just because of the inactivity of the people who were involved in those things for this amount of time. It's no different than guy out there claiming that he's, oh yeah, we're the best mechanic of the whatever. And then everybody who took their car to them, their car broke down the day after. And they've been doing that for 50 years. You're going to go to them at year 100 and talk about, well, you know, you guys said that you fix cars and all that stuff. You should try doing it this way or that way. No, they don't have any intentions of making this thing work for the people, right? They don't have any intentions of doing that. They've dropped the ball. And nobody's not calling these people out for dropping the ball. They want them to fix stuff. You're not going to go to the people who caused the issue to fix the issue, because they caused it. If they had any intentions of fixing it, they wouldn't have caused the issue. And then you ask yourself the question: well, why would they do this? Why would 5 people after Noble Drew Ali died say that they're Noble Drew Ali reincarnated? Like, what's the purpose of that? Obviously, that's going to cause confusion. 5 different people saying they're Noble Drew Ali. Those 5 people saying they're Noble Drew Ali, and nobody's questioning any of the 5 people. You just have factions of people go into each one of them that's saying that they're Noble Drew Ali. Right? And then the whole movement as far as the finance, that spread thin, because now all the finances isn't going to one central location anymore, right? Convention, that spread thin, because now you have 50 different Moors doing conventions, right? When everything was supposed to be one. Grand Major Temple, you got 12 Grand Major Temples. So when we look at the Moorish movement and where it is and what it is supposed to be, certain things you're gonna have to not deal with, because the people, the gatekeepers of the things that you're claiming you want to deal with, for example, Supreme Grand Council, they're not letting you in. You don't have a say. If there was a say, there wouldn't be this problem. They have it set up so that the people, Moorish Americans, don't have a say in their own stuff. When Noble Drew Ali said, this is yours. And then they're playing like it's theirs. And then you can't do anything about anything. Which is why these Moors that brought us in told us, don't trust any of these people. There was people in Grand Major Temple who they were involved with gay porn and stuff like that. These are Moorish Americans, Grand whoever. They got gay porn at their house. And then we're talking about have some conversations with them about fix something. Fix what? They didn't have any intentions of doing anything right with regard to this. Zero intentions to do anything right. All they were looking at was their selfish self. Right? That's the position that they took. And from the individuals who brought us up, Dr. Aline, Raz Mariah, Taj, Nature, Abdullah, all these different people, how come they never spoke about this stuff? Because they already know that it's not even worth talking about. The most you can do is try to keep the integrity. But for those people to do it, it's not happening. Because they crossed off integrity on their list of things to do as Moorish leadership. They crossed off certain things. Right? The idea of we're supposed to, because Noble Drew Ali said, when you go check what Noble Drew Ali said, if that's not in harmony with the 100 years that this thing has been going on, more than likely somebody infiltrated it and caused it to be how it is. It's not like that because of Noble Drew Ali. And again, like we said, if we go and we look up Supreme Grand Council right now, address is gonna come up, website's gonna come up, names of who's on it's gonna come up. So there ain't no that there isn't one. The issue is that who it is are fraud. People who are saying that they're that, they don't have the integrity to be in that seat. Because look what they've done with the seat in the past 80 to 90 years. Absolutely nothing. So it makes no sense to even look at that as the way to go. Right? Any questions or comments?
I was just going to say earlier that Rami's a Capricorn, right? And it's funny because like my mom is a Capricorn, right? And I always hear that my cousin's a Capricorn, and I know a lot of Capricorns, right? And the Capricorns are like one of the most hated signs, they're misunderstood.
Yeah.
There's just so much dying on that, everybody just hates the Capricorns for whatever reason.
Yeah. So back to the letter. I personally have been researching and speaking on Supreme Grand Council for the past 6 years, right? So he's been personally researching and speaking on the Supreme Grand Council for the past 6 years. Has he talked about the Supreme Grand Council in the past 6 years? They exist. It's not like they don't exist and you can't find them. And then how come he hasn't talked to them personally? And then if the response is, well, I tried to call them and they didn't answer, then what the hell does that tell you?
Is that a recent letter?
Yeah, March 3rd, 2021. As of today, March 3rd, 2021, we do not have an active and functioning Supreme Grand Council. Yes, there is an active and functioning Supreme Grand Council. It exists. It's out there. But we know that those people are the traitors. We know without a shadow of a doubt that they're the traitors. Because if they weren't, there would be Moorish manufacturing companies around right now. There would be Moorish businesses. If any Moors had any issues with any body out here, whether it's another Moor, whether it's a European or whatever like that, they would have handled it. And they haven't done their job. And when you don't do your job, that's dereliction of duty. If you don't do your job, more likely, you know, you work McDonald's and you don't clean the fryer or whatever, you're fired. That's it. You can't be insubordinate and then have the job still. Only way you do that is if you're a fraud. Because at the point of you not doing the job, you're done. There's no somebody stepping you down. You're done. You didn't do the job. Nothing to say you need to step down. We can look at your track record to know that you haven't done your job. And those individuals, if they had integrity, would have stepped down. They don't. They stay in the seat. 30, 40, 50 years. People came into the seat, black hair, now they're all gray. They're still in the seat. People came in the seat running and walking, now they're in a wheelchair in the seat still. Can't even hold a pen and they're still in the seat. Obviously you're not qualified. If you can't run a mile or whatever like that, you probably shouldn't be in the seat, right? This is unacceptable, as Noble Drew Ali made it clear that we are to have a Supreme Grand Council. Simple and plain. Us not following the laws laid down by Drew Ali has resulted in so much confusion, division, and ultimately stagnation within the Moorish Science Temple of America. No, them not following the law has created confusion and division and stagnation within the Moorish Science Temple. These same people who we're looking at to do what they're supposed to do that they haven't done in 100 years is what the problem is. It's not individuals in the movement. It's the people who are the leadership. That's the problem. At this very moment, there is confusion and contention between Moors about which Moorish temples and Moorish leaders are the true official or valid temples and leaders. Right? Again, like we said the other day, if there's some people calling themselves Rise of the Moors, and then somebody else comes out and says, no, we're the real Rise of the Moors, those guys are probably a fraud. Because why would they have to say that they're the real ones? Why would they have to say, oh, we're the official Moorish Science Temple? Obviously, you guys are frauds if you're claiming that you're official. Because this is already official. This doesn't have to be claimed to be the official. Because Drew Ali said there's one temple. So if there's one temple, how is somebody else calling themselves temple and then saying that they're the official one? And the only way that they'll be doing that is if they haven't done their job. The only way that they're the real one and somebody else is the fake one because they haven't done their job.
I wouldn't say real. You say the Rise of the Moors.
Easy as that. In addition to that, we have had very little progress in establishing our own Moorish schools, businesses, and communities. We don't even have a clear and cut established process for our people to properly proclaim their nationality. This is unacceptable, Moors. Right? Again, we've had very little progress in establishing our own Moorish schools. Every temple is supposed to have a school. Isn't there temples everywhere? How come those don't have schools in them? And if they do have schools in them, how come it's only limited to those individuals? It's not limited to everybody as a whole, right? Moorish businesses. There were Moorish businesses during the times of Noble Drew Ali that was founded by Moors, right? It's founded by Moors. Moors had their own businesses. How come Moors wouldn't have their own businesses now? Because these people who were around back then, who were supposed to carry on the tradition of us having Moorish businesses, so by the time it gets to us, it's easy. Wouldn't be no big deal. Wouldn't be anything hard to do. It would be easy to do. Matter of fact, you wouldn't even have to do anything. You would probably be born into a Moorish business. Because your mom, your dad, your uncle, your whoever, they would be Moors too. Right?
Access to generational wealth.
Exactly. Access to it. Right? Not starting something new. It's already established. All you're doing is inheriting. It's just getting passed down to you. Right? In addition to that, we have had very little progress in establishing our own Moorish schools, businesses, and communities. Right? Moorish communities. Right? How is there no Moorish communities? There was, and again, going back to the same idea, that when the Moors in leadership took the position of not taking this to the hedges and the highways like they're supposed to, the movement became stagnated because less people were knowing about it. And Drew Ali was around, he was going all over the country. Grand Sheiks, Grand Governors, or whatever like that were going all over the country with this info. Noble Drew Ali assassinated, now everybody's stuck in their little hole called Moor Science Temple, and not putting out any information, not putting out any literature. And if they are putting out information, it's so that people look at this as some religious thing or some, cult of whatever like that. They're not looking at this as this is for humanity to be saved. They're looking at it strictly as a club. And as soon as they start playing club with it, that's where the whole thing of we don't even have a clear cut and established process for our people to proclaim their nationality. That was the temple's job. That wasn't anybody else's job but Moor Science Temple. Nobody else was talking about nationality or proclaiming your nationality before Moor Science Temple, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Divine National Movement. It wasn't something talked about. But after Noble Drew Ali left the scene, it went back to not being talked about. When this was the hot button topic in the 1920s, our people not being Negro, black, colored, and then Drew Ali making reference in all the literature. If the Chinese, the Greeks, and the whoever else, Turks and everybody else proclaiming their nationality, then what the hell are you doing? What you want me to do, kill you? Everybody else has nationality. 20s talking that. Go into oral statements talking about the Japanese joined the temple, Chinese joined the temple, Turks joined the temple. Any and everybody was joining Moor Science Temple. Why are they joining for? They already got their nationality. What are they joining this for? If they have a nationality already. Because the proclamation is on the individual to do. Right? Peace. Peace. It's not. But this letter is not about trying to place blame on Moors. nor is it about trying to point out every single thing wrong with our movement. This is about correcting our mistakes and getting us back on track to help uplifting fallen humanity. And what is the best way for us as a collective to do this? In my humble opinion, the best way is to follow the laws and teachings of Noble Drew Ali. Well, if that's the case, if that's the position that he's taking, that well, following what Noble Drew Ali did is the way that we're supposed to get out of this, then how come when Moors see him in Cali, he's turned the other direction and he's not talking to Moors? That's not what Noble Drew Ali would have did. Now we know Moors personally who's seen him on the street and said, hey, and then he went the other direction. But then he's talking about what the Moors need to do and what the Moors need to do. What do you need to do? Right? You know? How come we have a book, 77 Amazing Facts About the Moors, and he doesn't promote the book? Never, ever. How come for the past 5 years, all I keep getting is the same royalty checks? Because I know that I sent people to get the book. The same royalty checks. 5 years, getting the same checks. Obviously, somebody's not doing their job, because these should be double, right? I have faith that when we reestablish the Supreme Grand Council, we will have addressed the root problem within our movement. And who is reestablishing this Supreme Grand Council? Because in order to reestablish Supreme Grand Council, you have to be Moorish Science Temple. That's not something outside of Moorish Science Temple. That's something that's within it. That's not an external thing that you can go out there and then do your own thing called Supreme Grand Council, right? And when the problem is addressed, I feel any other issues in our movement will consequently be worked out. And that is why I am writing you today. I am proposing 3 main steps to resolving the Supreme Grand Council issue. Step 1, all Grand Sheikhs, Sheikesses, or heads of temples to begin teaching and informing themselves and all of the members in the branch temples about the Supreme Grand Council. Make sure that everyone in all our temples are fully aware of the Supreme Grand Council's duties and the purpose in the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's in the Moorish literature. There you are right there. What the Supreme Grand Council's job is, who it is that was in it. What more you need than that? If they did their job, now we have something to talk about. But if they're not doing their job even, and the stuff is listed, just like when we say Moorish Science Temple of America has certain duties, but then the only way you're going to find out about the duties is by getting the admin functions book from RV Bay Publications. How come RV Bay Publications is the one that's putting out the literature about what the Grand Chief's job is, and the Grand Governor's job is, and the Chairman's job is, and the Mufti's job is? How come they're doing that? How come Moorish Science Temple's not putting that up? Because they're playing secret games with this. They're playing, well, we don't want people to know what the Grand Chief's job is, because then anybody's going to want to say that they're Grand Chief or whatever. When that's not your position to hold back the information.
Is there any redress?
As far as
Well, like about the Grand Chiefs and anything like that. Is there anything that anybody can do at this point?
at the point where we're at, there's so many different factions that you would have to go to that faction, check them. Go to that faction, check them. Go to that faction over there, check them. Go to those Moors over there, check them. Yeah. And go through each, and then
So basically, there's no redress. At least at this point, there's no redress.
But again, the no redress is due to the individuals that are in the seat.
No, but that's
So,
what I mean. What should we do about those individuals?
like for example, when we went to Pittsburgh, right? We went to the temple, knocked on the door. Nobody answered,
Okay.
right? Looked through the mail slot, saw people inside.
Wow.
Because we looked through the mail slot, saw people inside, they came to the door. They didn't invite us in as Moors. Islam Moors, how you guys doing? Welcome to the temple. They came out and shut the door behind them and talked to us outside.
Wow.
Whoa.
Now this is Moors Science Temple.
Wow.
Right? So if that's where they're at with it, there's no need to there's no recognize that there's a sellout. Right? No different than if we know that Al Sharpton worked for the FBI and all that stuff. Why are we talking to him about come down to the thing and talk to the people or whatever? Why is he even getting an invite? What's the purpose of inviting him to come talk? Right?
What year was it when they decided to call us African American? Was it in late 80s or 90s?
Something like that. Yeah.
These 5 people decided to give everybody the name African American. 5
Yeah.
freaking people.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Now the Supreme Grand Council. So we have the Supreme Grand Sheik, which is Ali, right? That's the Supreme. Like there's no other, like, you know what I mean? Like Supreme is Supreme, right? So the Grand Council now, wouldn't that be all legitimate, like, you know, temples coming together as like the Supreme Grand Council now?
It should be like the Supreme Grand Council would be individuals, because remember that in Drew Ali's time there wasn't 50 temples saying that they're a Grand Major Temple. There was one temple, right? That one temple had a grand body. That one temple had the Supreme Grand Council. That one temple had a grand treasury. It wasn't all these different people claiming the thing, like how it is right now, which is why there's issues, because there's so many different factions and all of them going about it from a different perspective, which is why, again, when we go back to all the elders who brought us up, everything went back to Noble Drew Ali. Everything went back to, go back to the foundation, go back to the root of what this is. Go back to 101s, go back to Holy Quran, go back to what was established. And when you go back to what was established, you'll be able to have a better perspective as to what your place in this is, and then what you're supposed to do with this. So when, for example, with every temple is supposed to have a school, right? I don't have no children, but there's temple members who have children. So they want a school, have a school, because you should have one. It's not going to be, oh, well, the Grand Sheik said and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with that, because this is the people's movement. This is not the Grand Sheik stuff. This is not the Grand Governor stuff. This is not the Chairman stuff. This is not the Assistant Grand Sheik stuff. This is the people's thing. What the people want, that's what they're, once it's along the lines with the principles, there shouldn't be any issues. If we say, for example, we're going to go to, if we go to, for example, we go to Philadelphia, for example, right? All those heads over there in that jurisdiction, they know their obligations to the people, right? But if the people don't know that, then they can do whatever they want. Like they can put certain individuals in seats of power who they think should be there, not they went through the ranks to be there, or they're qualified to be there. Somebody said, oh yeah, we're going to put this guy in, whether it's their boy or whatever like that, they put them in the seat, right? So that they can administer to that individual in their seat, because they know they're going to do what they say without any argument. without any challenge. They're just going to do whatever. So that Moor who filed the paperwork out there, blocking every other Moor from filing any paperwork, his grand sheik made him do that. He could have said, nah, why am I going to file this paper for nobody else to be able to file papers out here? If there's Moors out here, whether they're in that temple or not. If they're living according to the principles and they're doing stuff right, why shouldn't they be able to file paperwork? Right? Which is different than with here, for example, that everybody who isn't us here, everybody who's not in temple number 5, they're probably a traitor. Because we know that anybody who's not in here that's claiming leadership, they either went to Chicago or whatever and got their authority from Chicago. They went to some more in Indiana, got their authority there. They went somewhere in New York or something, got their authority there, when their authority is supposed to come from here. Why are you going to New York to get your authority when you can get your authority from here? There's Grand Sheik right here. Why are you going to Grand Sheik all the way over there when you can just deal with the Grand Sheik here? Oh, because they want to do their $5,000 for a package. $10,000 to discharge a car, $50,000 to do whatever, and they know we don't play that. They want to say, oh, well, pass the hat around the temple so we can get finance. We don't play that. That's not how stuff happens here. That's not how we were brought up with this info. We were brought up that this is the people's info. What they want is what this is. Our stuff to say, you can't do this or you can't do that or whatever. You want to wear a blue fez, wear a blue fez. Like, telling you gotta wear red. Well, I'm a sister. I want to wear a fez. Wear your fez. You know how much temples came down on sisters wearing fezzes or whatever? Came down on them. You can't do that. Why are you doing that? Fezzes are for men only and all that. When the fez is a womb. Oh, the fez for men only when the fez is a womb. The fez represents womb. Tassel represents umbilical cord, and men are claiming it. That's patriarchal. That's man ruling, which is another reason why this stuff fell to where it is, because you're gonna find no women leadership out there in the Moorish movement, and the only way you'll find them is if they have nothing to do with the temple, and if they are in the temple, guaranteed they're under some man who's giving them orders. When the temple itself is feminine. It's not a masculine thing. The actual building Moor Science Temple, where people are supposed to go in there and then they're coming out with a new mind. What do you think that means? That temple's a womb. And you're coming in here to learn certain things, so when you go out there, you can take your place amongst the affairs of men. And then affairs of men is woman first.
It goes back to the obligation, like you said, right? Like, the obligation is let people know. Once you know, it's like a spell. It's like a spell. It's like, you got it, did it, you got it, and it's like tag, you got it, It's like you never pass it, or else, that's a violation, right? So right away, automatically, like you said, the obligation is to let people know, like what you already told us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody else is getting played out here by finance taken from them. So right away, that's a violation because they're not doing the obligation, right? Because they know that they have an obligation, but they decided to go left instead of right. So it's like a karmic thing that it's like caveat emptor, it's gonna eventually,
yeah. So, like somebody saying, for example, Rami and Cujo need to have grown man conversations so that we have a book together. What the hell are you talking about? Where was the Supreme Grand Council talk when we were writing this book? What do you mean you didn't know? We already had info about all this. We've been had Moorish literature and all that stuff. He's been on stage with Taj Tariq Bey and all that stuff lecturing. And then all of a sudden, Or the only focus that he has is Supreme Grand Council, to the point where he doesn't even promote his own books that he wrote? Something's wrong there. Something's going on there. There's no way that you're not going to promote your own stuff. You're going to promote some other stuff from some traders. Supreme Grand Council right now are traders that are running that. Why would you need to hear anything from them? Well, Noble Drew Ali said we should have a Supreme Grand Council. Okay, Noble Drew Ali said we're supposed to have Grand Treasury too. Where's that at? And how come nobody's talking about that? Because guarantee if we had a Supreme Grand Treasury, we wouldn't even be worried about some Supreme Grand Council. So there'll be so much finance in this thing that everybody's going to be good. We don't even need that. If Drew Ali said enforce Constitution, how come nobody's talking about that? These Europeans killing our people under acts and ordinances and statutes every day, just because our people refuse to enforce the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. They're enforcing some act or whatever. Even out here, they're going to push Constitution Act on people as if that's a constitution, as if Canada's a country and they even have laws. Right?
So the Supreme Grand Council is, so you're saying it's a group of individuals right now, currently. Is that what you're trying to say? It's a group of individuals that are running this so-called Supreme Grand Council.
Right? Let's do it again. During this convention period, the Prophet Drew Ali said on the 17th of October that he was going to appoint 7 men, tried and true and accepted by you, and on the very next day, Drew Ali stepped forward from the chamber room and declared that he now had his number, and said that the Grand Body has accepted his choice in the setting up of a Supreme Grand Council for the Moorish Science Temple of America. Not for the Moorish nation, not for the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, not for the Divine and National Movement, for the Moorish Science Temple of America is what the Supreme Grand Council was set up for. It wasn't for the nation. It was for the temples, right? And Prophet Noble Drew Ali also declared what their duties in conjunction with that of the Grand Body, which consists of all executive rulers, chief rulers, governor. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that both are to work hand in hand with each other, and those who act in a Supreme Council duties were to continue on with each other, and those who act in a Supreme Council duties were to continue on with the day-to-day functions of this divine movement. So they're not supposed to look at they're doing Supreme Grand Council and they don't have to do anything else. Or all we're doing is Supreme Grand Council and that's it. No, you're supposed to be doing Supreme Grand Council on top of all the other stuff that you're obligated to do. Not just Supreme Grand Council only, because now you're in that seat. So now, yeah, so now we're the management department. We used to be in the human resources department, so now we're in the management department, so we don't have to care about human resources. No, you don't. You still need to make sure that everybody's paperwork's proper and everybody's stuff if you're management. It's not just left up to them only, because all these different stuff is supposed to fit together, to work together, to make the job easier for everybody. But if they realize that, hold on a second, well, if we just do this thing over here only, then everything else is going to fall by the wayside. Which is why everything else fell by the wayside. Why you don't know? Why is it that there was millions of dollars in the Moorish movement and nobody knows what happened to that finance? Like, how come nobody knows where that finance went? Whatever happened to the Grand Treasury?
Who did the research to find out what happened?
No, we know that they robbed it. We know that they robbed it. Because all these individuals who, after Noble Drew Ali, claimed to be Noble Drew Ali or whatever like that, they became millionaires overnight. How did they become a millionaire overnight? Because they robbed the treasury. How are they able to start their own organizations, change the names of stuff, change their name, called themselves something different. And then now they're taking pictures looking like the convention picture, 50, 100 people behind them, but they're not even saying that they're Moors anymore because they robbed the treasury. But it was an inside job. Because everybody knew where this was going. Everybody was clear where this was going. And in order to get the people to disconnect from this, cause confusion. Because nobody wants to be part of anything that's confusing. They don't even, there's not even in their mind, they're not even trying to connect to it if it's confusing. Which is why these operatives were put in place in order to say, I'm Noble Drew Ali reincarnated. And then the guy down there saying he's Noble Drew Ali reincarnated. And then two other people are claiming that they're Noble Drew Ali incarnated. But their organization has nothing to do with the Moors. They got a black organization calling themselves Noble Drew Ali reincarnated. In order to cause confusion. Right now, people are going to go into a Moor science temple right now, and they're going to sound like the people next door, singing hymns and all that stuff. They're not teaching them about law. They don't got law dictionaries in there. They're not doing anything about proclamation. They're talking about Noble Drew Ali's Jesus and God is Allah and singing hymns, and then that's what they do. That's Moor science temple to them. When that's not what this is. All these institutions that's called Moor Science Temple of America were supposed to be running a certain way. And the people who had that job of making sure it ran a certain way decided that they're not going to do that. Why? Because Noble Drew Ali's not in their face to slap these people. They weren't trying this stuff when Noble Drew Ali was around. They weren't claiming Noble Drew Ali reincarnated when Noble Drew Ali's right there. How come they wait till he died to do that? How come they didn't rob the treasury when Noble Drew Ali was here?
It's funny because you spirit them regardless of flesh or whatever.
Right?
So they're like, it was like they're more afraid of them in the physical, spirit form than really in like the spirit. When they should have been more afraid of him when he was
right? You should be worried about. Noble Drew Ali said, I could do better work from the soul plane.
Yeah. Right?
So why would you not take it more serious that he's not here than when he's here? Right? And then looking at him not being here, and the people who are just haphazard doing whatever, right? Saying whatever, teaching whatever, it doesn't matter. What we teach, we don't have to teach about law. We could teach about religion or whatever like that. They have theirs. Theirs is on the way. They're gonna get theirs. Right? They're gonna get theirs. They're not gonna be on the earth plane. It's not gonna be here while they got their Rolls Royce and all that stuff. They think everything's good, and they got their big house and their mansion or whatever like that. They think everything's good. Right? They put Bay on their offspring and all their offsprings in the NBA and all that stuff. They think stuff's good, but they're gonna get theirs. That's just what it is, right? The three main steps to resolving Supreme Grand Council issues. Step 2: once all members of the branch temples are informed about the Supreme Grand Council, have members in each temple write out and submit any and all questions or concerns about Supreme Grand Council to the Grand Sheikh, head of their branch temple. From there, the Grand Sheikh, head of the branch temple, will organize all the questions and bring them to the Moor Science Temple of America National Convention. There's 50 grand bodies. Which convention are you going to? They got conventions in October, they got conventions in September, from different factions of Moors. And then you're not just going into the convention in the door because you're Moorish American. We just told you we had to look through the mail slot to get these people to open the door. That were claiming that they're Moor Science Temple without a sign on there, and then they had the nudie bar windows on the temple or whatever like that you can't see, and then all that stuff. right? That's what they had going on for quote unquote a more science temple. And then we're thinking, well, yeah, oh, national convention. Well, I'm a Moor, let's just go to the convention. You're not getting into no convention like that. You better be dues paying, card carrying member of that in order to get in. Because this is what they've created. Remember, we're talking about 100 years later. So they already put all their pieces in place or whatever on the board. And then you're coming in, putting down pieces, talking about you're gonna play something. What do you mean? All the pieces are set up on the board for you to lose. You're not winning. Because game's preset. Right? There's no going into it and you're gonna fix something. Which is why again, we look at Taj Sharif Bey starting Moore's Order of the Round Table. Because Moore Science Temple that he was part of was playing ownership games with the temple. Was playing, oh, he's trying to take over because he went to the mayor's office and got all these properties for the Moors to have for themselves, and then the Grand Chief lost all the papers. Right? Lost all the papers. Right? Imagine Brother Kiba goes to Ford, Tory's office or something like that. You know, Moore, you know what I mean? You know, you guys got properties and stuff like that. You know, we're looking for some properties for the Moors. Oh yeah, well, here's the book, pick whatever you want. All right, you want this one, you want this one, you want this one, you want this one. Thank you very much, Mayor. See you later or whatever. Right? Properties in the bag. Then he brings the papers here. Yeah, I got these properties from the mayor, and then we could have whatever. And then next Sunday, I'm talking about, oh yeah, I lost the papers.
The dog ate it.
The dog ate the papers. The dog ate the papers for the properties that we just got from the thing.
Meanwhile, he's like low keys, building up on those properties,
Whatever he's doing, whether he stole them or whether I stole them for myself to do whatever, or whether, but so seeing that type of negligent behavior made Taj Bey say, forget all that Moore Science Temple, Supreme Grand Council and all that BS. I'll go over here, start my own thing and do this stuff properly. Because the people who are in there right now obviously have no intentions of doing it properly. Because they would be if they did. Wouldn't be losing papers for properties, you know, $20,000 shell property and you're losing stuff. And then complaining that the Moors don't have anything or whatever. Please. Please. Right? Right, so step 3. At the Moorish Science Temple of America National Convention, in accordance with the process that Noble Drew outlined, have 7 people appointed to sit on the Supreme Grand Council that is confirmed, agreed upon by the Grand Body. Once we have established the Supreme Grand Council, have the Grand Sheikh, heads of the branch temples, submit all the questions that were collected from the members to the Supreme Grand Council in order for them to answer and make official rulings if need be. Very important that all questions and concerns be responded to ensure that all members have their voices acknowledged and respected. Again, going back to the same thing, that these people in this position of Supreme Grand Council, Grand Body, Moorish Science Temple of America are operatives, majority of them. They were put there in place for this to be like this right now. Right? They were put in the place for this to be like this. And instead of Moors getting together, banding amongst themselves, setting up a grand body amongst themselves, having conventions amongst themselves, and sorting out the stuff that these people haven't been doing in 100 years, right? We're looking to the people who've done nothing to do something. They're not going to do anything. They haven't done anything for 100 years. Period. They haven't done anything for 100 years. So let's stop looking at them and let's start looking at ourselves. Because it's nothing to say group of Moors come together, whatever territory they're at, they come together, and out of those Moors, they elect 7 people to be Supreme Grand Council, and they get the job done that these people haven't done in 100 years. And that's all, and do the work that's supposed to be done. Otherwise, it's not getting done. If you're waiting on these people to do something who haven't done anything in 100 years, another 100 years is going to pass and nothing's going to be done. Do you think if we raided on Grand Major Temple or whatever to do whatever, that we would have a building right now? We don't have no building right now, waiting on them. Waiting on them to set up something out here. There would be nothing set up out here. Because that's not their intention. Their duty is to keep this stagnated. Keep this thing off. They don't even want it on the stove. Forget back burner. They don't even want this warming up. They want this completely out of sight, out of mind, so people don't even know that there's such a thing. And if they do know that there's such a thing, it's based on some type of package that somebody's selling. They know about this because of some taxes thing, some discharge, something or whatever like that. Pay some finance to somebody to get them to write you something for you to be able to get off scotch-free because you don't want to handle your obligations. Right? And like we said, Moors are supposed to be, Moors should have been doing this in their own territories. And we've been saying that since we started doing this in our own territory. Don't be waiting on these people. You better start setting up something where you're at. Right? Yeah, we know that our people are under supreme mental slavery. And we know that you're going to be pulling teeth with them to know what this is and find out what this is. We know when it was a full year with just me and one more, just watching DVDs over and over again, just because ain't nobody else showing up or whatever. And we could have said, forget this. But what? Juali said, hey, keep the doors open. Don't worry. You just keep the doors open.
Great segue. Okay. I have faith that if we lead with love, awesome, I like that. Or I have faith that if we lead with love and follow the laws and teachings of noble duality, we can solve the Supreme Grand Council issue as a collective and move forward with our mission to uplift fallen humanity. I'd like to know if you are willing to take part in this. Are you willing to inform your temple members of the Supreme Grand Council, have discussions and take in any questions, and then come to the National Convention and cooperate with other Moorish Americans to reestablish the Supreme Grand Council and answer those questions? Please respond to this letter and let us know if you're willing to work together and solve this issue. And if you are unwilling to do so, I pray that you are willing to unify, but please let us know one way or another. Thank you for your time. Peace. That includes that letter, right? That's the end of it, right?
Next week's on.
A lot of work at it.
Well, from what I take from that, to conclude from my point is personal issue with certain individual Morris,
Well,
which led to him in the grand scheme of things, calling on every Moor, like, yo, this is what needs to be done, I need to reform, forget like certain Moors, everyone needs to reform, which is confusion right there in itself. Right?
well, allows confusion, right? But clarity. Make that so.
Want to reread that bottom part?
Hmm?
The bottom part there?
Yeah. Right, so, with regard to informing the people of the Supreme Grand Council or whatever, they can just Google that, they're gonna come up. It's not like there's no Supreme Grand Council. The issue is that the people who are in it are not the people who you would want to be leading you. Because look where they led you thus far. There is supposed to be one temple. Then that one temple has branch temples. That one temple has a Supreme Grand Council. That one temple has a grand body of adepts. And everybody who's a member, no matter where it is that they are in the country, in the world, they're part of this one temple. Like if there's 5 different people saying that they're Grand Mayor Temple, obviously there's a problem. And it has nothing to do with the members. It has nothing to do with the temple. It has nothing to do with Noble Drew Ali. It has to do with these individuals who are in the seat. That everybody avoids them and talks about, well, the temple needs to do something. No, it doesn't. Temple's a building, can't do anything. Well, the Moorish movement can't do anything. That's not a physical space. It's these individuals that are the problem. And nobody's addressed personally these individuals because the people who are qualified to address them already know that they're traitors. So there's nothing to address. It's about, let's get some work done. When in 2000, 2002, 2003, when we were key holders for the Marcus Garvey Center over on Rivalda. When we first got the keys for the building, there was some elders that were running it. It was the Marcus Garvey Center for Leadership and Education, right? One lady there, Dr. Charmaine Marine, she saw our potential as young, black, conscious brothers or whatever, said, here's the key for the building, you guys do what you want. What do you mean what you want? Whatever you want, there's a building, do what you want, because these people up in here, all they want to do is domino tournaments, and all they want to do is drink, and all they want to do is whatever. Or the Marcus Garvey Center, and they got red, black, green jackets and all that type of stuff, right? One day a year, they're going to invite the mayor here. They'll pretty the place up for the mayor and all that stuff, the red carpet and all that stuff, bring all the chairs out, and every other time, building's empty, nothing's happening there. So she's like, here, take the keys, do whatever. So we did a tour of the building, and then there was one section where it was like they had a dock, like a loading dock or whatever like that, and people were using that area as their storage place or whatever, right? Now, when we say storage place, we're not talking about storing, some chairs that you could use or whatever. We're talking about 20 years old stuff sitting here. 50-year-old stuff in there. Stuff that you could pass your hand on stuff and you have dust like this of stuff just sitting here. So, so we asked them, well, what's going on with this? Oh, yeah, that's, this guy's storage, that guy's storage, that person's storage. All right, well, we'll just, call them up and see what's good. We got some keys for the garbage center. We're looking to make this place something for youth and whatever like that. We noticed that you got some stuff here. You want it, or what are you doing? Ain't nobody called him back. There's some stuff here, and then we got to the point where, well, okay, well, they used to call us Dash It Crew. Because we got a bid. We took our own finance, right? We took our own finance. We got one of those bins or whatever. And we had it in the back. We said, on this day, everybody's stuff is getting thrown out. I don't care who you say you are. If you want your stuff, come pick up your stuff. You never pick up your stuff? It's in the bin. Dash it. What about this? Dash it. I was thinking, does it work? Could we crank it? Could we do something? Can't do that? Dash it. Put it in the bin. Right? So, cleaned out whatever we cleaned out. Whoever came, picked up their stuff or whatever. And then there was one night when we had a Bobby Hemmett lecture. We had a Bobby Hemmett lecture here. And on the day of somebody came to the spot, and the room that we were going to use for the lecture, they want to be a dick or whatever. They put all their stuff in this one room that we were going to use, and had it all messed up. Walls were all messed up or whatever like that. So we had to move out everything, repaint the stuff, to the point where on the day, lecture day, places smelling like paint and all this stuff, had 500 incense in there or whatever like that to try to get paint smell out and all this, right? And it was minus 40 or something that day or whatever, right? So in the end, Dr. Charmaine Marine, she transitioned, and the same thing, just like when Julie, as soon as she transitioned, now these people's fangs came out and all that stuff, horns came out and all that stuff, and the demon in these people started showing that we got an event going on, we're going to the building, doors locked, key's not working. We're looking inside and people are inside, walking back and forth or whatever like that, praying like they don't hear us pulling on the door and all this, right? Close to throwing something through the window just so that we could prove our point. But like whatever. All in all, these people end up losing the building. Now it's some Sri Lankan temple or some stuff like that. Right? So all that to say that if people are doing corrupt stuff, they're gonna do their corrupt stuff. And there's nothing that you could do to stop them from doing the corrupt stuff that they're doing. All you could do is do your own thing. So we figured we'd do our own thing. So we connected with some more elders. Same thing. Yeah, we like what you're doing or whatever like that. You know what I mean? We have this space. We used to rent it out for some people doing church, but they're not doing it anymore or whatever. It was right at Morningside in Kingston, Caribbean Resource Center. And then these elders had their little space, which was like a little library, and then the rest of it was like a church kitchen in the back or whatever like that. So, doing our thing. So, doing the lectures, bringing people here for lectures, full house every time and all that stuff. And then one day we go there and somebody's truck is parked like across the door. Whose truck is this? Calling up people. I don't know whose truck that is. What do you mean? We got an event starting like in 2 minutes. Like, what do you mean truck? Oh yeah, it turns out to be landlords, whoever. You know what I mean? Oh well, we heard that you guys are bringing these people here with this black power thing and all this or whatever like that, and we can't have none of that. We can't have none of that going on here. Yeah, but what does that have to do with you? Like rent's paid and all that stuff. What do you care what's going on? They put the truck in front of the thing, right? So all this pleading, finally they say, okay, fine, we're gonna lose the truck, but you guys can't do stuff here anymore. You can't do stuff here anymore. I don't care what it is, we want you out the building or whatever. Like, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? But they again, once the people realize that you're up to something good, they're gonna try to make you look like you're not doing what you're supposed to do or whatever, when really it's them not doing what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? And going back to this same thing, that, you know, if Rami Salaam El put as much energy into putting out the information that's supposed to be put out, opposed to sending 500 letters to Moors all over the country for them to support some, you know, figuring out how we're going to fix the Supreme Grand Council issue, opposed to Moors just getting active and doing what they're supposed to do. Forget them.
Bring it back to the collective.
These people are not in our best interests. If they were in our best interests, we would have the things that we're complaining about that we don't have. We would have them. The fact that we don't have them means that everybody who's been in leadership position is to be questioned. They have to be questioned. They have to be. And again, you know, like Taj Sharife said, the only way they can be held accountable is if the people go in these places and drag them out and hang them by the light pole. That's the only way they can be held accountable at this point, because they've done so much nothing with the Moorish movement that it doesn't even make sense having a conversation with these people. But again, you know what I mean? If another one, when we were at Pittsburgh, and then a Moor from New York was there. You know what I mean? And we're showing each everybody their nationality cards or whatever like that, you know. Then everybody has Great Seal nationality card, and then he comes with his temple card or whatever. Well, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, I thought you're, yeah, well, you know what I mean? I joined the temple or whatever like that, so the temple gave me a nationality card or whatever. And then we flip the back, and the back is talking about if you don't this, if you don't that, if you don't whatever, we'll take your card from you and all this stuff. We're like, so you don't think something's wrong with this? You don't think there's a problem here that they're going to take your nationality card from you because you didn't do something? Like, you didn't do something, and they're going to take your nationality card, and then you signed on to that? Well, I never really thought about it like that. I just thought, you know what I mean, that it's their card. Yeah, but whose name's on that? Theirs or your name? Well, yeah, mine. Okay, so if your name's on it, how are they taking your stuff? I never thought about it like that. But, you know, and then he went and talked to Raz or whatever to go get his stuff, because why would I be part of something who they're going to take my nationality?
When it's your birthright.
When it's your birthright. If it's a birthright, if it's a right you have at birth, there's no way somebody could take this from you. And as soon as they start talking like they can take it from you, that should let you know something. That should let you know where they stand if they're taking that position like that. Right? Yo, crazy. Crazy. Right? You know, it's like for example, even again going back with Rami Salaam El or whatever, right? Him going at Rise of the Moors because they got guns and stuff like that, and oh my gosh, they're making the Moors look like they're gonna, you know, storm the Capitol and shoot them. It's like, no, like that. Everybody has right to bear arms. In certain states, you have right to even open carry. Why are you gonna deny them their right? Because either you can't do it where you're at, or you're too coward to do it. Why are they looked at as they're doing something wrong when all they're doing is enforcing the Constitution, which Noble Drawley said do that. It's a constitutional right that they have to do that. Nah, they shouldn't be doing that because it makes the Moors look. Makes the Moors look what? Like, what do you mean it makes the Moors look what? What does exercising your right to bear arms. I was like, oh, Moors are exercising their right not to be taxed. Oh yeah, Moors shouldn't do that or whatever like that. That's making Moors look like they don't pay taxes. We shouldn't. Why would we be paying taxes to some foreigner? Why would we have a license from a foreigner if we could have our own stuff? If we can set up so that the national identification card is ID across the board, no matter what it is. Anybody want some ID? You're putting on nationality card. Why wouldn't that be the standard? Why would we need some guy in China to make some document for us in America to be able to travel when he's not even using it to come over here? Like, how come he's not using the stuff he's selling people to come over here? How come he's stuck in China? Did he get deported? Why is he over there for 25 years? And then all of a sudden he came up with an idea, oh yeah, I'm gonna start making IDs or whatever for Moors in America. And then Moors in America are buying it. And then they're going around using it or whatever. But the guy in China who made it, he's stuck in China. He's not using it to go travel. Doesn't that tell you something? Even if everybody else works, how come the guy who made it, isn't using it? What does he know that you people don't know? Even if it works, he has to know something. Because why wouldn't he be using his own stuff to travel? You know what I mean? Or is there some other stuff going on that, once they let you know the other stuff that's going on, then you guys, oh, okay, you guys are fraud or whatever. Why am I wasting my time with them? And again, it's across the board. Just find the people trying to tell you it costs you something in order for you to have your birthright. Just find the people who's playing secrets. Find the people who there's some type of benefit at the end of the tunnel you're gonna get because you're a Moor now. That's not, all that stuff is not a reality. It's not a reality. And again, if Moors are true to what it is that Noble Drew Ali presented, they would know that this is about uplifting fallen humanity. This is about learning to love instead of hate. This is about proclaiming your nationality. And this is about living by the principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and having a greater appreciation for womanhood. When you do those things, you'll be all right with this. You don't need Supreme Grand Council, Grand Body, and none of that to get you out of what it is that you're dealing with. Just like they say with, these people came up and said, oh yeah, Moorish consular court, that's what we need in order for us to save ourselves, because the temple's not doing the, and this is not doing the whatever, and whoever's not doing anything. All right, well, if Moorish consular court was really for our salvation like that, how come there wasn't one around when Noble Drew Ali was around? How come Noble Drew Ali didn't call consular court when they kidnapped him? How come 10 years ago there wasn't a Moorish consular court? And Moors were beating cases 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Moors were going to the court, judge saying dismissed, get this Moor out of here. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Moors getting kidnapped, and then they're getting let out the back of the jail. No issues. Why do we need these things for? Right? So what people have to realize, and it's a lot. It's a lot to digest and to accept that it wasn't always the European who was our enemy. It wasn't always the European trying to monkey wrench stuff that we're trying to do as a people. It was really our own. And that has to sink in. And again, Drew Ali told you that it's your own wearing turbans and fezzes that's going to put you back in slavery. You're looking at some European is the enemy. When it's your own wearing turbans and fezzes that's going to enslave you again. And if it happens to be them that enslave you, know that that's your fault. Because Jwali already told you, be careful, watch out for these people. Jwali already told you, Kavit and Tor and all that. And nothing. Everybody let the traders run amok. The traders do what they want. You know? And then now there's nothing and we're complaining. And when we talk about when they talk about people violating the law because we're not going with the Supreme Grand Council, or we're not going with the Grand Body, or we're not going with certain things that we're seeing Moors doing that we're violating because we're not going with them. No, we have common sense. We're not idiots that somebody's going to be a traitor and then we're going to be chasing them around the place as if they're doing something right. They're a traitor. That's just what it is. It's nothing against the movement, nothing against the nation, nothing against the empire, nothing against any of the temples, any temple, wherever it is. It ain't about them. It's about the individuals in the seat. And majority of the individuals in the seat, they were either preacher people. Right now, they got people right now claiming Moorish or whatever, that they were a preacher yesterday. And they still have their 501c3 stuff set up or whatever, even though they're saying they're Moors. Even though they're saying Moorish, this and that. They still are under 501c3. They still under religious corporation working with the enemy, causing confusion. Any questions?
Is that what letter 45 is talking about?
March 11, 1929.
45. Let's put it off. March 11, 1929. Brother Crombie Bay, the governor and chief head of the temple in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Brother Charles Bay, governor and chief head of the temple in Cleveland, Ohio. These two brothers are empowered by the prophet to investigate business, etc. of temple number 4 in Detroit, Michigan, because Lomax Bay has violated all divine laws of the prophet, even before the prophet's face, February 15, 1929. He claims that the prophet has no more power and the finance from Detroit would be in his charge. He wouldn't send any to the prophet. He yelled with a loud voice, "Look at me, I will guide you through." This is lawful and living evidence spoken before 1,500 people, and the prophet was also present. I, the prophet, declare his office vacant and the name of Grand Governor discharged. He can only be a member according to law, because the Moorish Science Temple of America is a divine organization. Each temple is under supreme guidance of the prophet. When man fails after being placed head of the temple by the prophet of obeying our divine laws and constitutions, he is a traitor and an enemy of the divine creed and unloyal to the national government USA, to which the movement is to make men and women better citizens. From the prophet Noble Juali. And then if you look up Lomax Bay, it's going to show you that he changed his name and started some Muslim thing or whatever like that, because he already knew that Moors were coming for his head or whatever, and he had to flee. Because there was no playing around with traders when Noble Juali was around. It's only after the fact that traders are able to do whatever they want, because nobody was going to check them. And they knew no one was going to check them. That's why they did whatever the stuff that they did. Because they knew they weren't going to get checked. Why? Because the membership were passive. The membership didn't have it in them that, it's the same thing with Malachi York. Right? That as soon as they got him out the way, nobody stepped up. Because everybody was playing this personality, whatever. worship people, dick ride people or whatever, when you should be studying. They're no different than going on right now with people. Oh, well, Taj is on or whatever, so I'm going to listen to them. Why are you listening to them? If you're listening to anything, you should be probably just when Taj is on there, but anything else, why are you even listening to them? What are they telling you? Well, discharge debts and lean a straw man, and but that's not what he teaches. Yeah, well, he's on their platform, so that means that he's with that. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that whatsoever. But that's how the traders do. They side with somebody who's good or whatever that everybody recognizes as, oh yeah, he's the authority of something. And yeah, because I got a picture with him, got a picture with him or whatever, then that means he sanctions everything that I do. He sanctions everything I do. No, he doesn't. People are lying. Lying. And again, we'll put it out there again. Find me all the videos with Rami Salaam talking about 77 Amazing Facts of the Morals, which is a book that me and him wrote together. And then find me all the videos of him talking about Supreme Grand Council. Which one's more? And then if he doesn't have 500 videos talking about 77 amazing facts, know that something's up. Because why would you not be talking about your own book that you wrote? And talking about some other stuff from some traders. That's good. That's going to go nowhere. Because their numbers there right now, you can go look them up. Numbers there right now. You go look them up right now. You can send them all the mail that you want, ask any question you want to the Supreme Grand Council. It's not like they don't exist or there's not one or whatever. We know that those people are traders. That's why we don't call them. We know Grand Major Temple sells Adept Chamber admittance and sells charters. We know they do that. That's not what this is about. Drew Ali said anybody who wants a charter could get one. So why are they selling them? If he said anybody could get a charter, then why are people selling them? Right? Obviously, they have different intentions. So they should just be giving stuff away. Shouldn't even be anything that anybody should be able to just go to them and, yeah, can I get a charter? Here you go. Here's the rules and all that stuff. Follow your stuff. We're gonna check back with you in a year and make sure that you're doing stuff proper. But then if they do that, then then they don't have the power. Because once the individual has the charter, then and they're doing stuff according to the law, then they don't have any. They can't make a stance. They can't say anything. They can't say you shan't. That's why they can't say we can't do whatever. Because we're chartered to do what we're doing. We're not chartered from them, but we're chartered. And the work that's been put in has shows itself. Because we start with 2 people. Now you check all them pictures up there and see how much people are involved with this. Just because of us taking the same tone as everybody who brought us in. Because this is the people's thing. It belongs to the people. And once the people take their position, then that's what it is. And the leadership is going to have to do what it is that the people say. Because the people are the government. If we're talking that this is Moorish and this is ours and whatever like that, then this is the people stuff. It has nothing to do with the leadership. The leadership is selected by the people in order to do what the people say, not do what they want or do what we want. Because we're the grand whatever, so that means we're the ones that have the authority. No, we don't. All our authority comes from the people. All of it. Right? We were given sovereign power by the people. And I know there's ample amounts of Moors ample amounts of Moors all over the country, all over the world. Who's going to say, oh yeah, because of Cujo and how he teaches or whatever, why I said that I want to be a Moor? Because all these other people are telling me about religious stuff and spirituality stuff and all that, and I don't even want to go there. I want to know about my birthrights. I want to know how to fix some problems that I'm dealing with. I want to pray to fix my problems. You're doing that as a Christian. I was doing that as a Muslim. All these other organizations that I was part of, thinking that, oh yeah, because I'm part of this organization, we're going to do liberation of our people or whatever like that, and nothing happening. No. Right? Asking how do we hold leaders accountable with the Supreme Grand Council? You can't hold the leaders accountable with the Supreme Grand Council if the Supreme Grand Council is the one who's sanctioning these bit-bap leaders that you have, that you've been had for the past 100 years. That are doing absolutely nothing for the Moorish movement, nothing for the nation. They're doing nothing for the people. They're sitting in their little hub, in their little room, and barking orders from their little room. It's not happening. It's not happening. And again, if you see any grand sheiks, notice he's not talking about grand governors or grand secretaries or anybody like that. So I know he's talking to me or whatever. If you hear any grand sheiks disrespecting Supreme Grand Council, please know that is because they don't want to be held accountable. I stay being held accountable. Regular. Moors don't stop checking me or whatever. Because somebody out or whatever like that, check Cujo. Why are you doing that? Yeah, explain the whole stuff. Why? Go through the whole stuff. Why? Oh, okay, I guess they deserve that then, because I would have cussed them out too if they tried to pull some stuff like that on me. Exactly. Right? The issue is that the people have been socially conditioned to be passive and not active. And in their passivity, they're not going to make right decisions. Can't be passive and make right decisions. Because it doesn't, passivity is not gonna allow the decisions to be made. Right? Like again, going back to the example of the school, that Moors said they want to have a school here so that their children could be around Moors and learn about Moor stuff. Like what? Why wouldn't every temple take that position? Right? Just remember that all the so-called leadership in the Moorish movement, whether it's Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Divine Movement, Great Seal, whatever the organization, association, corporation is that's talking about they have somebody who's leaders or they have leadership or whatever the case is. Know that their leadership comes from the people. Their leadership, their power comes from the sovereignty of the people that gives them some of the people give the leadership some of their sovereign power so that they can do the job for the people that needs to be done. Right? And that's just what it is. Right? Who is the sole judge for what is at variance with our constitution and laws? Self is the judge. Who is the judge for Moors and violating Moorish law? Self is the judge. Because majority of individuals who are violating, they're violating either because of ignorance, right? If they don't know what the law is, they're going to violate it. Which, if they don't know, they shouldn't even be talking. They shouldn't even have a position to say they can talk about something if they don't know. And second, they probably work for the other side if they're violating. Because there's no way that we're going to know who Juali is or whatever like that. And then we're going to just openly just violate what he's doing because we think we figured out something better, right? You know? So we're putting it out there. We're letting you know that any type of branches that you see in Moorish Science Temple of America that haven't been doing what they're supposed to do over how much ever numbers of years. We're not talking about it's the temple that did it. We're not talking about it's the movement that did it. We're not talking about that it has anything to do with the institutions, the individuals, the actual people. If they say, you know, martial law lockdown or whatever like that, it's not City of Toronto that did it. It's the people in the seat of City of Toronto that did it. It's not the country that did it. It's not the corporation that did it. It's the people who are in the seat. And until you check the people in the seat, don't talk about checking anybody. Because you're gonna get nowhere. It's like we're saying that you get a letter from whoever telling you that you need to do this, you need to do that. And you start talking about, well, Capital One's telling me that whatever, and you're not talking about the individual who wrote you the letter, you're not talking to anybody. Right? Not talking to anybody. And people could say, and we already know that, you know, they're going to be talking about, you know, Supreme Grand Council or whatever for the next 10 years and not even push the book that he wrote. So we already know. People have their ulterior motives for why they do, and they're not going to give up their motives. They're not going to say that they're doing it because of whatever. Oh, I didn't even water those today. They're not going to say that they're doing whatever. They're going to make you think that certain people aren't doing whatever they're supposed to be doing when it's really on everybody to do their job. And your job is to be active with this information. If you know something, make sure you tell somebody who doesn't know. If you see your brother or sister in adversity, you assist them because they're your brother and sister. Always plant seeds. Always lead the horse to water, but they ought to drink on their own. And don't take this from a perspective of, you know, well, I studied from this person, so they gave this to me or whatever. No, this is yours. This is yours. And if it's yours, then you should take care of it, and you should nurture it, and you should do with it what should be done with integrity and with righteousness and all that. Weakling. Man's hair is growing. All right. Any questions or comments before we close out? Anybody straight? Hey, Maximus, you wanna go call everybody?
Okay. Maybe you'll call me. Yeah?
Okay. And because I'm just as the comments come up, just putting out certain stuff. The idea of being held accountable by the great God of the universe is going to hold you accountable for doing stuff. Right? On a level of you and your relationship, you and your relationship with Allah is how you're going to be held accountable. Not some general stuff. It's you and your relationship. So there shouldn't be anybody who is gonna influence you away from where it is that you are with this. Like we're saying, this is your thing. You're gonna have mores that you might refer to for counsel, and you might call to have a conversation with you, whatever. But when this resonates with you and it's in you, it's yours to do what you are supposed to do with it, because you're not here for no reason. You don't have this information like you have all the other information that you have. Having the information about your nationality and birthright is specific for you to do something with it. And that's something that's going to be done is based on you. What is it that you're supposed to do with this? You know, and don't let anybody stray you off of what it is that you're supposed to do. Because what they say, whatever title that they got or whatever they're claiming. So just for clarity's sake, Supreme Grand Council is in fact something that Noble Drew Ali said we needed. Yes, it's something that Noble Drew Ali said we needed. And it was something that Noble Drew Ali established. Rami has been found unfavorable because he speaks to making a Supreme Grand Council. Rami has been found unfavorable because why doesn't he just go talk to Supreme Grand Council? Because they're there. You don't need to make videos asking where they are and all that stuff. They're there. They got a post office box. They got an address. They got a website, and they're accessible. So go check them. And if you're not gonna go check them, then you got problems. Because you should be checking the people you have an issue with. Why are you checking everybody else about the people that you have an issue with? Bully beats me up, and then I'm going to talk to everybody else in here about, well, you know, the bully, the bully did this and the bully did that and the bully. So you know what we got to do? We got to find a bully coalition and all that stuff in order to get the bullies out of here. And you never checked the bully one time? Not once? Tripping. Somebody got other stuff that they don't want to deal with, that this is taking up their time, when they should go deal with the stuff that they should be dealing with, instead of focusing on dumb stuff. Right? So it sounds like that part of a Moorish conversation is necessary still. You people still have this thing in your head that the people in the seat of Moorish Science Temple are in your favor. They're not in your favor. They sold out, is the point. There's extremely few number of temples that's doing something right relative to this. 90% of the temples sold out. 90% of them sold out. And they've been took that position for 100 years. They've been took that position that we're sellouts, and this is how we're going to do stuff in order to keep the confusion going, make sure this stuff doesn't make it to anywhere. which is why, for example, honors to, people like Jamal with Rise of the Moors. He started his own organization and bringing people in and teaching them about their birthrights and their nationality, same stuff that temples have been supposed to be doing for 100 years. Honors to RV Bay Publications for making a website so Moors could go there and go learn. Temple should have been had a website teaching, having all this stuff that they got up there. It wasn't supposed to be Rosmariah Bay to do that. That should have been established by Moor Science Temple. But they don't, that's not their intention. Moors Order of the Round Table, Taj Bay, same thing. The Moors not doing their job. So people step up to do the job, and then now people are mad at the people who stepped up to do their job and saying nothing to the traders. Letting the traders just do whatever they want to do still. All right, then they're going to do what they want. You know what I mean? They're going to do what they want. So how we make the Supreme Grand Council we need, or get the right people in the positions, doesn't that mean having a conversation? If we have Supreme Grand, so the fact that we know that Supreme Grand Council is compromised, the fact that we know McDonald's puts people in the burgers, why are we going to McDonald's to convince them about have a veggie option? So we can go there. Oh, they have a veggie option now, so we're gonna go there. Yeah, but they put people in the burgers. No, but they have a veggie option. I'm vegetarian, so I could go there because I have a veggie option. No meat, that's hair. Right? It is what it is. People are going to take their position. People are going to take whatever position they take. All right. Moors, ready? Let's do it. Where's C? C's down there hiding. This man's bumming right now. He's hungry or something.
I we just ate before we got
Okay.
Yeah.
Big 6.
Stand up and face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, Father, universe.
Allah, Father, universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
My night.
Night.
And my day.
And my day.
There was only prophet.
He is only prophet.
No
duality.
Islam.
Supreme Grand Council don't teach him that. I'll tell you that. Welcome Supreme Grand Council doesn't teach him that. Islam Moors.
You want to